Pacific Rim Uprising, otherwise known as Pacific Rim 2. Stephen Knight steps into the director's chair left vacant by Guillermo del Toro exit from the series. Del Toro did a great job of bringing giant monsters and robots to screens in 2013's Pacific Rim. The sequel stars John Boyega as Jake Pentecost, son of Stacker Pentecost, who was played by Idris Elba in the first film, and he reunites with Mako Mori to lead a new generation of Jaeger pilots, including rival Lambert and 15-year-old hacker Amara, against a new kaiju threat. I really enjoyed the first Pacific Rim, and I was really looking forward to this sequel. Pacific Rim was what the Transformers film should be, and had human actors with personality who used robots to push a film instead of the other way around. All while Idris Elba delivered a President Bill Pullman-worthy speech.
Today we face the monsters that are at our door and bring the fight to them. Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Pacific Rim Uprising tries its best to live up to that, and it doesn't quite accomplish it. Let's start with what really works. The action sequences are on point, just as awesome as the first film, even though some of their awe is lost a bit. That's mainly due to it being a sequel and the fact that most of the action sequences don't really have the same weight they did in the first movie. One of the biggest problems in Uprising is that it tries to do too many things at once, and in doing that it does very little most of the time. There are 3 subplots going on in the movie. The first focuses on John Boyega and his struggle to find his place and live up to his father's legacy. It's pretty surface level stuff, and Boyega does a good job with what he's got. However, this really comes off kind of like the subplot of Will Smith's son in Independence Day Resurgence. And it's not as bad as Independence Day Resurgence, because that was awful, but mentioning in the same sentence is obviously not a compliment for Pacific Rim Uprising. The second subplot is about a 15-year-old girl that Boyega is mentoring and her learning to be a Jaeger pilot with another group of young cadets. This subplot is really reminiscent of Ender's Game, but so little time is given to it, it never really has time to develop into much of anything. And the third subplot involves this corporation that wants to replace Jaeger pilots with remotely piloted drones. Charlie Day's character from the first film works at this corporation. I can't really talk about this subplot too much because it'll get into spoiler territory, but I will say that this subplot works the least out of the 3, and unfortunately it plays a very important role in the movie. Charlie Hunnam was the lead in the first film, and his character's absence in Uprising is not really explained, so I found myself wondering what exactly happened to him in between the first film and this one. His co-pilot Mako from the first film returns, but she's wasted here. Honestly, all 3 returning characters are wasted in my opinion. Uprising tries to build its franchise, and while the big selling point is obviously giant monsters and giant robots, you do need characters you can build on from film to film. Otherwise, it's just a movie with some fun action, which is something you can get in countless other movies. They throw in some jokes to lighten up the mood at times, but none of them really land. You might find yourself chuckling a bit, but in an awkward way because you know what you were saying is supposed to be taken seriously. Come on, you have Charlie Day, and you throw him in left field chasing butterflies. It's just a wasted character opportunity. Ugh. Pacific Rim 2 isn't as much as an Uprising as it is a limp noodle. It is a generic action movie with a generic mashup of plots from other movies and a generic of genericness. If you are just looking for giant robots fighting giant monsters, it really delivers. They'll expect a lot of filler in between. Some of that filler is carried by some good scenes, but don't expect the characters' subplots to amount much of anything besides a G.I. Joe PSA about teamwork.
The next time you get angry over a bad play, remember you need teamwork to win, not arguments.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe! Pacific Rim 2 does not cancel the apocalypse like the first film. It simply coasts along with it. In the end, I'm going to have to give Pacific Rim Uprising 5 Jaeger bombs out of 10.